You want to hear about my abusive first boyfriend? Do you want to hear about that shit? Because I kind of want to talk about it. I don't really know why I want to talk about it, but I want to talk about it. Hell yeah, story time. Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Decker Link, the trained unprofessional, and I'm going to tell a story. I'm telling it on the live stream. I might use this as a video. I don't fucking know. So, story time. This is the story of my abusive first boyfriend. Disclaimer, I am pansexual, and I have been bi-curious since I was like fucking 10. I grew up in a very, very small town. Gravel roads, all four of them, less than 100 people. And I was not well liked in school. I was not the athletic type. I was not a part of any cliques. The bullying got so bad. It exceeded bullying. It was like assault and harassment at a certain degree. But I moved schools in the middle of middle school. I was going to a school that was like in the same town as me, very small town. I could walk very close, but I transferred to a school that was like 30 minutes down the road, and it was a bit of a distance. At that school, whole new crop of students, except for a couple people that happened to transfer schools at the same time as me. It was really weird. The holdovers there. One of them was a guy that, for the purposes of this stream, I will be referring to with a different name that I have not come up with yet. Let's call him Bill. Yeah, I got a Bill Goldberg mug looking at me over there, so I'll call him Bill. Sure, Bill was in the same grade as me. At that school, writing school, there were like, I think there were four guys in my entire grade at that school. It was me, Bill, and two other guys that not really important to this story. Bill was a special case. I don't know if any of you have had friends like this before, but he was someone who was very aware of his social standing. Because this is 7th grade, so most people have hit puberty at this point. They're interested in the sex stuff, and they're trying to figure themselves out and figure everything going on in their head out. And so because of that, all of a sudden how you're seen by your peers matters like way fucking more. So
Jesus Christ!
shit, I said his name. Oh god. When this becomes a video, I'm gonna fucking edit that out, but that doesn't mean shit to the people who are here. Damn it. Bill. God damn it. Bill was one of those guys that was very aware of his social standing, and as such, did not want to be associated in any way to anyone who was socially substandard. They're very populous. There's a lot of them in middle school and high school where they are totally willing to be your friend as long as no one else knows. And that's the kind of friend that Bill was. Bill lived in the town where this new school is. New school to me. It's a pretty old fucking building. But considering that I didn't really have any friends at all, it was really nice to feel like I had any kind of friend. Like, even one that's conditional or part-time or a fair weather friend. When you have nobody, it really just seems really seems like you'll take anyone at that point. So Bill, being the two-faced rat bastard that it was at the time, I don't know if he still is, I haven't talked to him in years, he secretly invited me to a sleepover at his house. No one else would be there, obviously, as he didn't want anyone to know that I'd be there. But he was fine being friends with me, like I said, as long as no one else knew. So after school, his house was within walking distance of his school. And so we walked there. And I don't remember if this really happened or not, but I feel like I remember him making me walk down a different road to his place. That might not be true, but it might have just been like we couldn't talk while other people were around or some shit. He was cagey as fuck, right? We got to his place and we hung out. He had a kind of shitty ass house. It was basically like an igloo. It was just like cinder blocks, it all put together with a roof on top of it. But eventually we hung out. Everything was actually fine. We had a good time as far as I know. We played some video games. He was downloading music on LimeWire very slowly. It was actually pretty cool. And then it came to the sleeping arrangements. Now at this point it is going on winter. It wasn't full winter, but like I said, his house was not insulated. It was basically just like cinder blocks as walls, and that was it. So when it got cold, it got fucking cold fast. And originally they had a couch in the living room, but it was covered in shit. And so the plan was to share his bed, which he gave no indication that he had any problem with, and I really didn't mind. And so we laid down, and he had his TV playing. We were watching reruns of stuff. We were actually watching reruns of MASH, if I remember correctly. I love MASH. I love the show MASH. And we were watching it on TV, and then a commercial came on, and he started, like, holding on to me. First it was just looking at my arm. Like, he just hand on my arm, stuff like that. Didn't think much about it. Show came back on. Another commercial. All of a sudden he had his arm around me. A show comes back. I'm paying attention to the show. Next commercial. He rolled over. And I can't go into further detail because of YouTube. Point is he made his intentions known, and that being my first experience with a guy, I had been bi-curious before that. At this point, I was, it's 7th grade. I was 11, I guess. I hadn't had an experience with a guy like that before, but I had been bi-curious for a year or two prior, and so I went along with it, and it was nice. It was not good comparatively, referencing future interactions I'd have with guys. Compared to that, I mean, you're fucking 11. He was 12. Like, you're not gonna have the greatest of times, but there you go. Just drowning in hormones at that point. I remember the next day was like some sort of meeting at the school. There was some sort of something, and I don't remember what it was for. Was it a class or PE? Or it was something. Either way, it was on a Saturday. So we left from his house in the morning, and he was trying to justify it. Right? He was giving me this game about how we were practicing for the girls. I don't know what girl he was practicing for, but I did not have the equipment, nor were we doing anything that would prepare him for the girls. Then again, maybe not. I don't know. I just don't know how you practice taking it in the ass for a girl. But anyway, what would come about after this was every couple of weeks we would have a sleepover, and it would almost always be at his place. I didn't really have any privacy at my house, and he only lived with his mom, who wasn't there most of the time. So we were able to be at his place most of the time and have a bit of privacy. His bedroom didn't have a door, but his mom's did, and so we knew if we heard that door to be more subtle. I remember one time we even got together in a tent in his yard, and I didn't think we were gonna actually do anything because he had also invited his like cousin, uh, uh, and so we were all sleeping on separate cots in this tent. And then me and him started passing notes, and then I went over to his cot, and we had to be really quiet as to not wake his cousin. But yeah, we didn't stay apart that night either. What was weird about that one is that was months into this whole situation, and two things about it is he was still a dick to me, like in real life in front of other people. Like he still really treated me terribly and really was not cool about me, and really didn't want anyone to know that we were informally going out. We never really we had agreed, and we had taken on the titles, but all we were doing was having sleepovers, and then I'd leave, and that was basically it. He wouldn't text or talk to me outside of his place at all. But two, up until that point, we hadn't even kissed. Like, we did that way late into this whole thing. I remember the first time I asked him to do that, he really didn't want to. And there were a lot of red flags about this whole situation. But unfortunately, again, I really didn't have any friends. I really didn't have anyone close to me. I didn't really have anyone nearby. I didn't have any prior experience with a guy. And back at that point, again, I remember I'm living in Kansas in the 2000s. There was way more stigmatization of this kind of thing in that area and at that time. There was a certain percentage of reason, I guess, for him to not want anyone to know, but still, it hurt. It hurt a lot. Eventually, we did have a sleepover at my place, but since I lived with 3 other people, that only happened once. And then finally, it eventually stopped happening. Yeah, pretty much. It was Stockholm Love. Thank you, Insane Kool-Aid. Eventually, what wound up happening was we got together for a sleepover at his place after he had added on to his house where not him by himself, but they had added onto his house to convert their front porch into a room for him, so he'd have his own room. Again, not insulated. It was basically just wood, and the floor was still the cement of the fucking porch. It's terrible, terrible. But I remember us sleeping over, and I was thinking that it was same old, same old. And so we got in there, and I started to go about the routine, and he just didn't. He just wouldn't. He was like, "Nah, I don't. What are you fucking doing? Just go to sleep." I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." And then in the morning, he didn't even say bye to me when I left, and that was it. Like, he just never invited me for another sleepover. And soon after that, it was high school, and it was around that time that I started to notice that he was, dating people. He was publicly with a girl. Again, won't say names. And so he basically found another way to get his end off, and then that was it. He didn't need me anymore. So around that time, I also started to see someone else, a different girl. than the one he was seeing. And I say that specifically because I it's really weird, this small world after all kind of shit, but the girl I started seeing after him is now Bill's wife. They wound up getting together. They have kids now. And it's so fucking weird that my abusive first boyfriend, who would belittle me and physically shove me and treat me like shit in public, and then use me for everything he wanted when we were in private, and then just dump me out of nowhere once he found another way to get his end off. How he wound up with the girl I wound up going out with right after him. And the ultimate weird fucking cap on top of all this is that a few years later, he would basically once a year, he would send me a message on Facebook that I wouldn't respond to, saying like how we should hang out or whatever. I remember one time he showed up to my fucking house out of nowhere just to chat. Just want to hang out, man. Whatever. I'm pretty sure he thought that it was going to be a casual thing, but as soon as I did not invite him in, he was like, oh, well, I should probably head back. You know, I was like, uh-huh. After a certain amount of years of a yearly awkward message that I would either not respond to or only respond to with basic pleasantries, it was after he had his first kid with my ex-girlfriend that he invited me to catch up with them over lunch, to meet his kid, to catch up with both of them. I didn't go because how the hell am I supposed to look at their kid without mentioning the fact that I fucked both of his parents before they even met? And obviously I don't just say that to kids, but that would be in my head. Like, that was the last thing I did with either of these people, was being one person's plaything and another person's just ex-boyfriend. Like, that was the last thing I ever did with any of these people on a regular basis. And what the fuck am I supposed to do in that social situation? What am I supposed to do? Not even getting involved. So, yeah, now, you know, he lives many states away from where I do because I moved, and I very much will definitely, very likely not ever have to deal with him again. He stopped sending his yearly messages, and I'm very glad for that. And you know what? I hope he's doing well. I hope everyone's doing well. I don't want, you know, anyone to be doing badly. I want people to get better than who they were. I am better than who I was back then. I hope he is better than who he was back then, for everyone's sake. Oh, fuck, I totally, I skipped one of the most important fucking stories about this whole fucking guy. Okay, so, I don't know if you can see it on this camera, but right under this eyebrow, there is a scar here. Let me see if I can get all the pawns here. Just totally fucking break this shit. You can kind of see it right there under the eyebrow. Let me see it. You see it? It's a little fucking blurry. I got that, not from him, but because of him. It was 2 years after our last sleepover. It would be my sophomore year of high school, my last year of school in that district before I moved from that small-ass town to Kansas City, where I would never see him ever again. I was working the concession stand as part of my, I think it was the theater troupe, or maybe it was forensics, I don't know. I was working the concession stand at a basketball game at the high school. I was doing it to raise money for the club I was in, either theater or forensics, and my shift came to an end right before halftime of the basketball game. So I didn't have a car, so I had to wait until my dad would get off of work so he could come and pick me up. That's an important note. I couldn't have just walked home. The high school was in the middle of fucking nowhere. Northern Heights High School. It is kind of close to a town, but that town is not the town I lived in, and I knew one house there that maybe would have been nice enough to let me in at the very least. So yeah, and certainly was not within reasonable walking distance. So all that setting out of the way, cool. So I leave the concession stand, and I have nothing to fucking do. I didn't have a smartphone, and this was 2010. I didn't have a smartphone. I didn't fucking have anything to entertain myself with. And so I went to the band room. Because I knew the band room, that's also where choir was. I was in choir. I knew I could go there. Maybe if I was lucky enough, maybe the choir teacher would have left his computer on and signed in, because sometimes we would watch YouTube in there because the teachers didn't have the same kind of content blockers that the students had. So I knew there was going to be a whole fucking half of this game left to wait through, and I didn't really want to watch the game. High school basketball, not exactly the most thrilling thing for me, believe it or not. The choir/band room is right next to the gymnasium where the basketball game is currently playing. The gymnasium there has a stage. This is one of those high school gyms that have a stage in the gymnasium, and attached to the gymnasium via a door is the band and choir room. So the band, which is going to play at halftime, is all in the fucking band room. They're all in there. They can't leave because then they'd be abandoning the performance, and they couldn't fucking they wouldn't get points for being there. Now the director had left for some reason. I don't remember quite why he wasn't in there. And I don't really remember if it was before or after, but all I know is there was some band members in the room, and there was a lot of people, so it would probably be before. And so I got in there, and I knew it wasn't just the band members. There was also a group of plain-clothed, shall we call them hicks, in there, ranting up a storm. They didn't care who heard it. And it was all the ringleader was a guy whose name I also have to change. Let's call him Cletus, because that's my favorite redneck name, Cletus. I fucking love that name. So, Cletus, he is leading this band of jeans and plaid shit. Like not this. They wouldn't be caught dead wearing this. But I'm talking like rough plaid and fucked up jeans and cowboy hats, and I'm pretty sure they had guns and knives on them. Cowboy boots, those kinds of fuckers. And Cletus is the ringleader for a group of, I would say, about 6 or 7 of these fucking guys, right? And they are going off. They're kind of concentrated up in the far top corner, and I'm like, I don't have to deal with that if the computer's on, but the fucking room to the computer was locked, and so I was like, shit. Well, I can at least fuck around with the piano. So I was sitting at the piano, and I'm hearing, and I had a recording of this for the longest time. I fucking got rid of it because at some point it became not important to have it. I was recording on my little MP3 player, one of those capsule fucking things, the audio of this. I didn't know what was happening because they were all concentrated up there. They were screaming at someone who was on the floor there. They were like, I'll take you home in a body bag, I ever catch you out of here. You want to fucking fuck with me? You would rub it about. And they're just going off, threatening someone's life and going fucking ape shit. And eventually, after like many, many minutes of this ranting, which was never interrupted by the halftime show, so I imagine this was right after. So that's why I would explain why some of the band members left and why the director wasn't there anymore. Eventually, some of them disperse away a bit. None of them leave the room, but they're not as close. And I see that it's Bill. It's Bill that they're fucking screaming at. My abusive first boyfriend was the one being fucking assaulted by this group of Cletuses. Turns out what happened, right, is Cletus's pickup truck in the parking lot apparently got his tires slashed. And someone, was not me, I would not have thought to... I didn't know about any of this. But someone pinned Bill fingered Bill as the person who fucking did it. And I didn't know about any of this until I saw Bill, and I put some of the context clues together of him saying, you don't fuck with my truck, you're gonna pay for this shit with your money or your life. Like that. They were really fucking mad. They had weapons. And they were hitting on him, holding on him and shit. It was bad. But this goes on for a long time, and no one did anything to stop it. We were right next to a stadium, not a stadium, a gymnasium of adults who no fucking way did not hear this. Not one fucker went inside to check on us. Not one fucker went inside to see what all the yelling was about. No one. And none of the people, those straggling band members, no one did anything. Most of them couldn't leave. They wouldn't let anyone leave. That was the whole thing. No one could leave. That's why Bill couldn't get away. Not that they weren't, holding him or keeping him from getting anywhere. But eventually, after like 20 minutes of this diatribe, they eventually move further away from him. They make sure he's still up in his corner, but they won't let him go. And, it'd be one of those things where you walk away and you get mad again and you come back and then you fucking go back. One of those times where Cletus walked away, started to get mad, and was about to head back over again, he let out the phrase, I bet you've never even been in a real fight before. And I saw my opportunity. So here's the fucked up thing, right? He's my abusive first boyfriend, Bill. If you've ever been gaslit by someone who has emotionally and physically abused you, it is very easy on the outside to say, why the fuck did you care about this asshole? Why did you stick around? Why did you give them the time of day? Why didn't you just leave? I had no one in my life when Bill showed up. No one. No one had ever cared for me the way that he claimed to. No one had ever been physically intimate with me to that degree for that prolonged a period of time. And despite the fact that he had already dumped me like a fucking full diaper like a year or two before, and had done nothing but treat me like shit in public during and since our being together, I still felt some form of attachment for him. It was stupid. It was so fucking stupid, but I did. I did. I don't anymore. God, no, but I did at the time. So when Cletus barks out, I bet you've never even been in a real fight before, I pipe up. And I say, well, I haven't. Turn to me like, who the fuck? Who, this fat fuck sitting at the piano has been in here this whole time? Who the hell is this? They didn't know who I was. They all came from a different school. A different school in the district that all conglomerated at that high school. And they're like, really? Whoever the fuck you are? You've never been in a fight before. I was like, yeah, I've seen some wrestling or whatever, but I've never really been. And that's also a fucking lie. I had been in physical altercations before that, but I never have been someone to be in a one-on-one fight. Usually it was just a couple people beating the shit out of me. I said, no, I saw some wrestling or something, but I've never been in a fight before. Would you show me? And seeing an opportunity, as these bright thinkers clearly, or they saw an opportunity to take out their aggressions on some poor sack of piss because they were all amped up. They wanted to beat the shit out of something, but they knew they couldn't do too much in there without, anything bad potentially going wrong. They knew that they had to get out of there before they did anything. And they hadn't yet taken Bill out of the room. They were about to when I piped up. So they saw an opportunity to take their aggressions out on someone, and I saw an opportunity to get them the fuck out of that room. So they're like, sure, we'll show ya. And so me and these 7 Cletuses all left the room. Cordially. They didn't shove me or anything. We all just left. And this afforded opportunity for Bill to get the fuck out of there, which he did. That just leaves me with a group of angry, pumped up, probably drunk Cletuses. So, at the school, when you leave the gymnasium, there's a door. It goes out into a small parking lot, and then there's a little trail that leads down to the track, the track and field track. And then on that trail, there's a fucking big ass hill. Well, big ass. It was Kansas. Big ass hill. It could mean a ditch. Point is, once you were down on the other side of that thing, you couldn't be seen from the school very easily. And it was at night. They took me all down there. They all got in a circle. Ringleader Cletus and me in the middle. And they're all laughing and joking and thinking it's some big guffaw. And so he said, all right, you get the first shot. Which is stupid, because if it had gone south, the whole thing of take the first shot is the you get the assault charge on you thing, but whatever. And again, I'm not someone who can just get physically aggressive out of nowhere. If I am attacked, then the adrenaline kicks in. But at this point, I was just scared. And I was just in my head being like, Bill, get the fuck out of there. And I had no idea if he had left or not. I had no idea if he took the hint, get the fuck out of the room or not. So we're squared up. And I do some kind of kick to his shin. Dick move. And by the way, but he was like, oh, okay. My turn. And this scrawny Cletus motherfucker, I didn't see him move. I just saw his fucked up teeth. And then something hit me. I got hit in the face. He punched me right there in the eye. Now, that's a pretty good scar for a punch. It's because the fucker had his keys in his hand. Total bitch move. Bitch ass. Bitch move. As you can tell, because of the placement of the scar right there, there is bone there, but it's like it's damaged. It didn't break my orbital bone or anything, but he could have. And I still to this day have a little bit of nerve damage. When I get tired, this eye gets a little fucking droopy. It's kind of gross. But like I said, he was just standing there, all of a sudden, pow! And this eye goes shut. It's gone. My face fucking explodes. It's blood. And that's the face is just a sack of fucking blood. Like there's nothing here. Like there's the skull, obviously, but like it's just fucking mush. It's just mush. And so he pops me. My face fucking blood everywhere. But I didn't go down. I didn't fall. I didn't cower away. My adrenaline kicked in. I started laughing. Because I have this weird fucking thing where when I'm bipolar, right? So when my adrenaline kicks in, I go manic immediately. It's not even a fucking whoa. It's fucking hitting the mallet on that like strength test thing and it goes bing. That fucking hit the bell. I was there. I was ready to go. He rung my fucking bell. I was ready to go. And so to him, he just fucking punch stabbed me in the eye. My eye exploded because it was bloody and dark. He couldn't see that he actually hadn't stabbed me in the eye. And then I just stagger back, stay standing there, and then start laughing like a madman. They called the fight pretty quickly after that. They're like, oh, okay, we're done here. Let's go inside. And a couple people were like, oh, you want help over this thing? Because there was like a little fence there. I was like, no, I got it. I'm good. And I'm just, because I'm amped up now. I got fucking hit. I'm ready to go. And so we go back inside. And I'm bleeding. The game is over. There are adults leaving. No one said shit to me. There was another band member who was borrowing like his mom's car. He offered to take me home because he had been there for that whole thing. So he took me home. And I didn't get to clean myself until I got all the way back to my house. The next day, my eye was black and swollen. I couldn't barely open the damn thing. I went to school that following Monday. Cletus came up to me at lunch, patted me on the back, said, thumbs up, whatever. I don't remember what exactly he said. He said something, some affirmation. They never fucked with me again. Not one of them. Not one of that group of Cletuses ever fucked with me ever again. It was nuts. And I didn't even do anything to them. And their beef wasn't even with me. But that's what happens when people realize you're a psychopath. So, the point is, how this relates to Bill is that after we left the room, he got out of Dodge immediately. I don't know if he drove there, if he got a ride, whatever the fuck, but I didn't see him again for the rest of the night. He got out. There was no legal action taken against anybody in this because this small town Kansas, you don't call the cops unless someone's dead. And even then, only if it's someone you didn't want to be dead. There's a lot of fucking spare land in that area. Point is, when it came down to it, I got punched in the face and inadvertently gained a lot of social points defending my abusive first boyfriend from an attack. I don't even know if he even sliced the guy's tires, kind of I think of it. I don't really even know if he did it or not. But in order to save an asshole who emotionally and physically abused me and ruined men for me for like a good couple years after that, I was still so emotionally fucking tied to that piece of shit that I got physically assaulted and almost lost a fucking eye in order to save him. So if that's a lesson, if there's a lesson to be taken from this story at all, like I just said earlier, I can't claim that, you can just leave. I could have technically just abandoned this dude after he fucking took advantage of me that first night and continued to string me along on all these casual booty calls, essentially. After treating me like shit in public and treating me like his bitch in private. And after all this time, after years of him abandoning me out of nowhere, still getting punched in the face to keep him safe. I could have just left him, but I also could not have, because that's what my head was in. That's the state of mind I was in. I didn't have a support system. I didn't have anyone I could have called or anyone I could have talked to about that. There was no one around me to be able to get me out of that situation other than just hard fucking life. And fortunately, I moved soon after that, and I've never seen him again. And now it's been so many years, I have nothing in terms of emotions for this guy. I don't even hate him. All right. I hope he's doing okay. If there's any emotion for him, I hope he's doing well. I hope he's a good father to his kid. I hope he's a good husband to his wife, my ex-girlfriend. And I hope that if anyone who's listened to all this shit is finding any kind of similarities between their situation and the one I was in before, that you might find it within yourself to reach out to someone near you to talk to them about it and see if there's a way that they could help you out, maybe make the situation better, or to at least help you get out of it. It's a very, very hard step to take. It's true. The hardest step in fixing a problem is admitting you have one. And when it comes to a relationship, that's even harder. So, there's the story of my abusive first boyfriend. Thank you for listening to this story.